Kumusta bookmates? It's Angelo from Hot Tropics. We had just got back from Honolulu. We're not really a travel channel and I didn't know what to talk, but me being a book nerd, I dragged my family to go check out independent bookstores and comic stores of Honolulu. At least the ones we could get to and the ones that we recommend. They have the big book chains there, but the indie bookstores is really where my heart's at. If you guys didn't know, Hot Tropics, we are the leading distributor and publisher of Filipino comics and children's books in the United States. So visiting Honolulu's independent book scene was super cool. It was a cool way to actually check out what a different state was doing. And if you're a book nerd person, a comics person, or even just into local culture, these spots are definitely places you want to check out. First up, we have the shop in Kaimuki. Kaimuki by far is probably my favorite neighborhood to go visit in Honolulu. It's located next to the University of Hawaii and it has this really cool hipster like Silver Lake type of feel. There's a bunch of local boutiques around there, a bunch of really cool restaurants. The shop itself is located in a giant building and upstairs they have the best press. It's been around since 1979. The shop has a strong focus on Hawaiian books and local creators, but it also had a large selection of like Asian books from like Japan and also the Philippines. I was able to find Filipino American authors here as well as Filipino comics by Arnold Are. The children's section is pretty elite. This is where my daughter was hanging out and she had a great time. And many of the children's books are actually published by the Best Press, which is located upstairs. In front of the shop they also have a little library where you could check out books and swap books. There's a big area. I think they do events there and it's definitely more than just a bookstore. It felt like a local hub for creators. It felt like a cultural anchor more than a retail shop, but it was an amazing retail shop. Next up we have Skullface Books and Vinyl located in Chinatown, another vibrant neighborhood. I sound like AI, vibrant neighborhood. This is definitely more of my vibe. This is actually owned by the same owners as the last bookstore in downtown LA. Apparently the dude is from Hawaii and they also had the same naming convention for their book sections too. I don't know if you guys have been to the last bookstore in downtown LA, but they have really interesting names and they carried that on in this store. This store carries books, comics, and vinyl. They had a big selection of punk and metal as well as a bunch of indie records. Apparently the theme of this place is the owner's bedroom when he was growing up. He was a heavy Dungeons and Dragons type of kid and was into metal, so that's definitely represented. At night this place turns into an event space. It kind of seems like where all the goths and the punks and the freaks and geeks of Honolulu hang out. The vampires of Honolulu. Had a great time here, definitely must see. Chinatown is also the most poppin' spot. During the day you could check out all the shops and the restaurants and even check out the wet market, and then during the evening it's pretty much where all the fun bars were. The next store we're recommending is right around the corner. It's only located a few blocks from Skullface and it's Native Books. Native Books is hyper-focused on Hawaiian books and local creators. They also carry a lot of rare titles and they also exhibit as an art space. The space was gorgeous, super clean. In fact, they even make you take your shoes off. The children's selection is also elite and many of the children's books are also published by a publishing company upstairs. They also had a strong selection of local comics from local creators. This place is definitely worth checking out. Super unique. Next up, we have Other Realms, which is the comic book store and board game store. It's a little bit further out by Nimitz Highway, but if you're gotta go Costco or the Dole Cannery, it's pretty much right there. I think this is the biggest comic book store in Hawaii. It was filled with comics and board games. It was pretty much hands down my favorite comic spot. I'd spent over an hour in here digging. I found a bunch of books from Nestor Redondo, Alex Nino, but I did not want to carry them back, so I didn't end up buying. I'm regretting it now that I didn't buy it, but I was definitely grabbing all these books and looking through them for hours. The staff is super cool. They really support the local creators. In fact, Ebony Soy also had early iterations of Malolas at this store when she was living in Hawaii. If you're definitely into comics and you're in Honolulu, this is definitely a must-see and you should definitely stop by. Up next, we have Village Books. It's at the Ward, which is like the shopping center that's between Ala Moana and Kaka'ako. We could talk about Kaka'ako in a little bit. Ala Moana is pretty much like the biggest shopping center, so you're gonna be in between Kaka'ako and Ala Moana at some point if you're in Honolulu. And this place is definitely worth checking out. It's basically a used bookstore and it's part of the Friends of the Library network. This is the most organized library bookstore I've ever been to. It's gigantic, it's huge. They have so much in here beyond books. They have a gigantic comics and manga section, their DVD section, their their vinyl section, their CD section, their VHS section was huge as well. There's basically a bunch of treasure here. You could dig for hours and hours. So if that's kind of your thing, digging for treasure, definitely go check out Village Books at the Ward. And last but not least, if you're gonna go to Kaka'ako, you might as well stop by Book Off. Kaka'ako is sort of like the artsy neighborhood of Honolulu. There's a bunch of murals everywhere. There's a bunch of warehouses and like auto repair shops. And there's even cool, like one of the warehouses I went to actually doubled up as a cool cafe, which had some really nice furniture. Basically, if you're into Japanese manga and anime, you're probably going to like Book Off. I'm not a big fan of the US Book Offs, but if you're not going to be in Japan anytime soon, this is the closest thing you're going to get to it, or the closest experience you're going to get to it. So stop by. I mean, if you've been to a Book Off already, then you already know what to expect. I mean, my overall take on Honolulu's independent bookstores is that it's very community orientated. They're very focused on their local creators, because there's all these big box chains and they kind of all have the same things. Barnes and Nobles are kind of getting better. Basically, most of the big national chains kind of don't have an identity. So that's why I really like going to indie bookstores. I'm really happy to see that Filipino books were represented at these bookstores. So yeah, keep it locked on Hot Tropics for more Filipino pop culture and books news.